Hey everyone, I'm Todd Wayne along with Ronnie Heelan. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Paranomaly Podcast. Unfortunately, Ronnie's not in the studio tonight, but she will be here, I promise, next time, asking questions and giving me crap. So on this episode, though, we're talking with Dominique O'Gorman. Now, at a young age, Dominique realized that she was a little different. She could see those that had crossed over. And throughout her life, she has focused deeply on death work, connecting those that have crossed over with those still living on this side of the veil. As she believes that we are all just walking each other home, and with each session she does with a client, she hopes they are one step closer to finding their healing through their grief. She's also a certified death doula, as she advocates individuals understanding their transition before it happens and their options. Now, with clients all over the world, she genuinely loves her work and is humbled daily by the impact the lessons from beyond offer the living. So grab yourself a drink and a snack. Turn the lights off on the way back. Find yourself a nice comfy spot and enjoy this episode of Paranomaly. Stay with us, folks. So, Dominique, how the heck are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. Did you get a lot of rain yesterday?
We ended up getting some, but it stayed literally like half an hour north of us. So I was literally like sweating bullets for a few minutes. I can talk to the dead all day, but give me a severe thunderstorm and I do not handle it very well at all. Right. So I totally get it.
Yeah, we got pounded yesterday. So
well, it's happening just north of us right now again tonight. And I was like, are you serious? Like, this is not happening like right now, but it's supposed to end by like 9 or 9:30. I'm like, it's fine. It's fine.
So tell me about what it is that you do.
So I work as a medium, which I pretty much connect those that have crossed over with those that are living. I believe that we are all walking each other home. It doesn't matter if you've met somebody for 5 minutes or known them for 50 years. We're all part of each other's lives. And I think a lot of those lessons that come from death are what we, the living, need. So that's my main goal, is to help people that have crossed over to those that are living. I do also work as a death doula, which is sort of like a birth doula, but it's on the opposite side of the door. We help people before, during, and after their transition into death. So that's what we do.
Okay. Now, how long have you had these gifts? Take us back to when you first realized that you had something special.
Well, I didn't realize it was special at all. I thought everybody could do this since I was a very, very little girl. I'm very lucky. I had a very dysfunctional family that was not the norm anyways. And so when I started, talking to my guide, that I never remembered like him not being there with me, but I would talk to him as like a best friend, as somebody, just like a childhood friend. But by the time I hit third grade, I didn't realize I was doing it, but my third grade teacher actually called my mother. I talk about the story all the time because I told her, I was like, oh, your mom's dress is so pretty. She really likes the book that you're reading to us, and going on and on. And she called my mother that afternoon and she's like, does she do this at home? And so my mom kind of sat me down when I was in third grade and she's like, listen, we don't talk about this at school. We can talk about it at home, but we don't talk about it at school. So this has always been a very natural part of my life.
Okay. All right. Now, you do a few different things, right? Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You're a psychic. Mm-hmm. What else is it that you do?
So a lot of people confuse a psychic and a medium. A medium can talk to those that have crossed over. A psychic can just kind of reach into the universe and help you with guidance and answer questions, maybe touch back on things that have happened or things that will happen. More often than not, a medium is also a psychic, but a psychic is not always a medium. So I always encourage people, if you are seeking services, make sure you pay attention to how people label what they do. So that's kind of what we do. I'm also a certified death doula. My mother worked in care life most of my young life, so being around death was very normal to me. So I began the transitioning, helping people transition before, during, and after their deaths to kind of help them advocate for what they want and understanding what's happening. since I was probably, I don't know, 19 or 20, I've been doing it. But I think it's really sacred work, and I could not imagine doing anything else.
So, so how does that work exactly? Like, how do you, is it like getting someone ready to cross over?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like hospice or end of care life, but we do not provide medical care. We provide mental support, physical, emotional, whatever they or their family need. We've had people contact us like as their family member is actively dying, just wanting to know, like, what do I do? Just having somebody present sometimes is just what the family needs. But we've also talked to people that are 19, 20, 21. I mean, I have a 21-year-old daughter who's already has her death plan laid out, because we talk about, it's not like a taboo topic at our house. But we talk to people sometimes years in advance because they don't know what their options are. We have done some of the coolest stuff for people. Like, there are people who have funerals for themselves before they die because they want to be present to hear what people have to say and to experience it. They don't want to miss out on it. We've had people that don't understand the options they have. We've always thought that you can either get buried or you can get cremated, and that's it. And that's so much more than that. And I think the last stage of our life in this body is probably some of the most sacred. And it's like the last chance for us to tell a part of this story that we're living. And I want to advocate for people to take control of that. It's like your last stage. Like, take control of it. It's yours. Do whatever you want with it. And people don't realize the options that are out there. So I think it's really important to just talk about it. I'm always telling people you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable talking about death.
Well, it's a part of life. You know what I mean?
It's the one thing we're guaranteed.
That's right. Yeah, you're not guaranteed anything but that.
But death, I promise.
Well, what about like reincarnation? Can someone become reincarnated?
I do believe in reincarnation. I think simply because of the work I do. I do not have solid proof. This is the kind of hard part of my job. And I will tell you in advance, I am probably one of the biggest skeptics you'll ever meet on the entire face of the planet. I promise. I think 95% of the people in this line of work are complete frauds, and they are feeding off of people's trauma and pain and grief. So I always go in skeptical, and I always encourage everybody else to too. But because of my work, I truly believe reincarnation exists. I think there's too many, like, I don't believe in accidents either. I think there's too many things that line up. I've had clients that come to me like for a psychic reading or even a mediumship reading, and other things that will come through for them. They're like, well, that's weird. That never happened to me in this life, but I've always felt drawn to this place, or I've had this deathly fear of something in particular. And I'm convinced that we are all reincarnated, whether it's we're reincarnated 500 times or 5 times, or this is our first go round. I definitely believe in reincarnation. I'm really into near-death experiences. I have a whole study on people that have had real near-death experiences, and the stories they have to tell just more solidify to me that reincarnation is real. It's very interesting to me. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I definitely believe that can happen. I mean, there's many, many, many stories of kids, young kids,
yes,
being born,
yes.
And they remember these wars and things like that, and they talk about them. People are like, wait a minute, Grandpa was in a war, you know?
Yeah,
so,
there's no way they could know these things. There's just no possible way.
Yeah. So what do you think? Like reincarnation? Let's see. Because see, I'm paranormal. I've been a paranormal investigator for a very long time, and when you die, your energy continues to move on. But what does that say about reincarnation? Does our energy just take shape? I mean, what do you think happens?
I mean, this is just my theory. There's 1,000 of them out there. Every other day, there's a new one out there. But I really believe in the collective consciousness type of theory, where we are all just an essence and an energy, right? The bodies we're cruising around in is just the car this season. And whenever this one's gone, the shell's off and we jumping on the side of the road, and our energy transfers into the beyond, to something bigger. My dad always referred to it as like we're all just one big drop in the bucket. That's what we are. I love working with paranormal investigators. Hands down, to me, it's my favorite thing to go do, because most of them are super, super skeptical, and that just automatically makes me want to do it. Like, let's go. It'll be great.
Right.
It's so much fun. We went to New Jersey in May to go on an investigation with New Jersey Paranormal, and I adore them. They're so much fun.
Oh, nice.
I love it. We've done them here in North Carolina, Tennessee. Like, I love doing investigations. But I think it's very interesting how the perspective changes when we transition into death and we're no longer in these shells, these bodies, and it's just our souls. We have a totally different perspective. And, I forgot the name. I think the podcast was Cocktails and Conspiracies, and the host referred to it as like the cosmic ooze. He was like, we all just get absorbed into the cosmic ooze, and we have a core essence. But then whenever we do reincarnate, those same core pieces come back, but we're built up of a whole bunch of other little things we picked up along the way. And I was like, oh, I love that. I love the way that you worded that. That's great. But I'm fascinated how people, I guess the best way to explain it, as a medium, when I connect to people, I always have a little spiel in the beginning. And I always tell people, just because somebody, like, let's just say your grandmother comes through and she died 20 years ago, and she brings with her your best friend that died last year, but they never met. But how would grandmother be bringing your friend through if our souls weren't all connected into one big other piece, And I think it's really fascinating to me how energy is just energy is just energy. And it's just more proof every time I sit with a client that we're not like in a box. We're so much more than what people think we are.
Well, I mean, what about like, do you think that we're continuously reincarnating? Like, we're going to go into, for example, and I don't know if this is true or not, we'll go into a deer, and then, a hunter shoots us, and then boom, we go into something different. Do you think it would be like that? I mean, that would be horrible.
No, I do not think it works like that. That's just me personal, just my opinion. I could be totally wrong.
No, that's good. I like your opinion.
I think that we all have work to do in our human experience. That's what we're having right now is a human experience. We all have work to do. When we transition into death, we have work to do on the other side too. I have a client that I've talked about. She loves when I talk about her son, and he literally, like, I don't get emotional. He literally made me break down and cry the third time I had a session with his mother, a year and a half from the first time. Because when I first met him, or when I first met her, he was angry and wanted revenge for the person that took his life. By the third time, he had done his work. He's been working and growing, and his soul was growing. And yes, he's still very much on the other side, but he was like, it's all good. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So no, I don't think we go from one body, we close our eyes, wake up in another body. I don't think it works like that. I think we have work to do on the other side. And after we do that work, if we decide we want to transition into something else, so be it. Let's go. That's totally fine. But I do believe time is very not what humans think it is either. It's very flex compared to what we think. Humans as a whole have made up this timeline since existence that we think the world works on, and it's just not like that. It's really not. So I definitely think it's a process. I think there's time in between. And it may seem like a drop in the bucket to people on the other side or souls on the other side. But to us, it could be 5 years or 5 lifetimes. But to them, it's just a drop in the bucket. It's so small.
Well, not to bring up religion, because, everybody's take on religion is different. But in the Bible, and I haven't read the Bible in forever, but in there, he didn't have any time neither. So right. a minute to him was a million years.
Right.
So is that what you're kind of talking about, like, for our
Absolutely.
time? Okay.
I absolutely believe that. I don't believe time or reality as we see it as humans are real at all, like at all.
I understand that completely. So what about people that are religious? How do you think they'll break this down if they hear this? I mean, reincarnation is not believed in a lot of
absolutely.
A lot of things. Now we know, like, Native American Indians, they believed in spirit animals and things like that. They're very
there are more earthbound beliefs that believe in these things.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and that kind of predates back into paganism, where we believed in all those things.
Absolutely.
So what do we tell?
Christianity is a fairly new religion. I mean, if you look on the whole scheme of things, it's not a very old religion if people really want to stop and look at it. I am not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. I think that we are all just having a human experience on this crazy journey. I used to, because I'm in the deep South, that's where I'm at. So I face this literally every day. But in the book that we're working on, one of my favorite clients in this whole world. Again, I don't talk about my clients unless they have literally signed a waiver and asked me to talk about them.
Sure.
I consider it private, very private work.
Absolutely.
This woman is like, where do I sign? I want you to tell everybody, because they don't understand. But about 9-10 years ago, I sat down with a big gallery reading. We had about 50 people, which was big for me back then. And she came up to me. She said, I don't believe in this. I'm a God-fearing woman. I'm a Christian. I think what you do is going against your soul, but my friends want to have it here. But I'm just letting you know, I don't approve. Totally okay. Respect that. We both had a mutual respect. I won't bug her. It's fine. After about 4 hours of sitting there and watching this energy run back and forth behind her, because I see people that have crossed over like a physical being, like a person standing behind them. And she kept running back and forth. I promise there's a point to this. But every time she'd run by, she would have like a different colored hair or a different colored outfit or a totally different face even, but it was the same essence. I mean, as an investigator, you understand that.
Sure.
That there's that core. You can tell it's the same thing no matter what it's presenting itself as. And at the end, I was packing up and I was like, you know what? I have to tell her, because I have to tell her. And I pulled her aside. I'm like, I'm so sorry, but there's this girl that keeps running by you, but she keeps changing her clothes and her makeup and her face is different. And she looked at me and she just broke down sobbing. And she said, that's my daughter that died a few years ago, but she was nonverbal in life. She had special needs and she could never talk in life. But every single day when she came out of her room, she was dressed in something completely outrageous, like neon green socks and purple shirts and cowboy boots. And every day it'd be something different. And ever since then, she is probably one of the most, like, I don't know, she refers people to me more than anybody else I've ever had. So religion, it's very interesting whenever we have people that are so hold on dearly to their faith. Now, I love blind faith. I'm fascinated by it. But I love when they have these moments of, oh, it's not in this box like I think it is. This connecting of souls is not this demonic, evil thing. It really is just a different side to life, and it's really amazing. It really is. Now, whenever you have those people that just, oh, okay, I see it.
Yes, and now let me ask this question, because you deal with spirits that are on the other side of the veil, if that's what you want to call it. It's that thin line that separates us from them. Now, I kind of look at it like, I don't know if you've seen the movie Silent Hill. And in that movie, they have when their world is the same as our world, but it's like a world that's falling apart. Now, I don't want to go to a world that's falling apart where it would be dark and demonic. That's not what I'm going for.
No, thank you.
But what I'm going for is an exact kind of timeline is like how ours is, except different. It's very hard for me to explain.
No. I wish I could relate to the movie, because you're probably going to find this funny. I'm petrified of scary movies, and the cover to Silent Hill is like a scary movie to me. I have never watched it.
Well, it is
just
kind of
like
scary.
I am petrified of scary movies. I've never watched like The Ring or The Grudge or nope, not doing it. I'm not going to do it. Freaked me out. But I do believe like there's a very old religious belief, like as above, so below. We are a reflection of one reality to another. I do think I think there's validity to that, but I do not believe like one's falling apart and one's all rainbows and sunshine. I don't believe that, but I might have to watch that now. As long as it's not going to like freak me out completely, I might have to watch it.
Well, the reason I'm bringing it up is because there is, and there's spirits everywhere. I mean, this we know, and there's transient spirits that are freely roaming. Some can even come into your house, you know that, and they can walk through. So do you feel like what we're seeing, like if we catch a glimpse of a shadow person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that they see us and they're like, "Are you a ghost?"
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely think that they are very well aware of us. They may not understand what we are, but they are very much aware of us. I've watched it happen. I'm sure you watched it happen on investigations where you'll be cruising along and you will pick up something, and then you can tell it's like, wait, what are you doing in my space? This is my house. Why are you in my house? And I know you've had to experience it as an investigator, but it's very interesting. I don't think it's quite as scary for them. At least I don't think so, unless there are. I mean, let me back that up. If people know they have transitioned into death, it's not scary for them. I have seen, and I'm sure you've experienced it too, souls that feel stuck or do not know that they have crossed over, and I can see where they're a little bit uncomfortable or a little anxious. I can see that.
So what? So
Hopefully, that doesn't sound crazy. I'm hoping that makes sense to you if I explained it correctly.
no, it's all good, and it's like because we really don't understand what happens when we go. Because
No.
I mean, like Bigfoot, people say, "Well, did you see Bigfoot?" Now, Bigfoot, we all know, is a hide and seek champ of the world, but
Right.
it is very possible that perhaps it's a spinoff of us, like an alien, different planes, different dimensional
All of that.
realms. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so are we dealing with that?
I think that's an interesting take on it. I haven't really delved into thinking if that's how we feel. Now, you mentioned a movie a minute ago, and I'm a super geek, like a really super geek, and I refer to movies all the time for people. But again, don't laugh at me. But in Men in Black, I want to say Men in Black 2, there is a character named Griff, and he's always talking about, I wonder what reality we're in. Is it going to be the one where he ate this pie at this time and forgot his watch? Then we're fine. But if it's the one where he ate and put his watch in his pocket, we're all screwed. I think it's very. I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of validity to that. I really do.
Oh, sure, like black holes, things like that. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
said
absolutely.
if you go through a black hole, there you are. But if you scry, I mean, I'm a big
Yeah,
fan of scrying, and I like to
yeah,
water scry.
yeah.
And the the things that I see in that water, they don't all look like people. And I always say that
No.
when I do my scrying and I look into that scrying bowl,
Mm-hmm.
I look at it this way. I'm at the bottom of a well and I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
straight up, and all I see is that little ring of light. And if somebody looks over that ring of light, I see them. It could be a bird, a deer, whatever moves past
Whatever.
that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I have scried aliens. I'm like, what? What is this?
Oh, I'm a firm believer in aliens. I think it's super egotistical that humans think that we're the only living conscious things in this whole existence. I think that's crazy. But no, scrying is like something that's very deep rooted in this kind of work. I actually do like bone readings. It's something I started out with years ago to try to kind of go in and understand and get my thoughts organized. I'm convinced the other side has like a hardcore case of like ADHD. So I'm always like, let's bring it in, guys. Let's focus. But we've done workshops with like fire scrying and water scrying and with ink, and I think it's a fantastic thing to do. And it always intrigues me if you get a group of people together and they're mirror scrying or something, and how every single one of them will see something totally different, and it'll be an exceptionally different experience for every single person, whether they're seeing something looking back at them, if they're seeing their own reflection transform into something. I'm always fascinated to see what our subconscious is guiding us to, because who are we to say that what we're seeing in front of us isn't real? Like that's not even an option. We're not allowed to do that. Our minds are so much bigger than what humans think our brains can hold. I really do think we have a whole portal of things we can open up and tap into if we just do it.
Right. I always say be a believer, but not a blind believer.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
you need to believe, but you need to actually use common sense and logic too as it goes.
Absolutely.
Now, what about like angels and spirit guides? What about stuff like that? Like, and this is for people such as yourself, people like me, we call our spirit guides in. Where does angels and spirit guides lay in the realm of psychics and mediums? And
everybody has their own opinion and what they feel like their own relationship is with them. And I am not going to say they are right or wrong. That's just not what I'm supposed to be doing in this life.
Absolutely.
Me personally, I totally believe in angels. I believe that angels have never had a human experience. Like, they have never been a human, and it's not like they reincarnated. I believe angels are an in-between. My husband is he was raised like he went to seminary school. He knows the Bible inside and out. I know the basics. So when I have questions, I'm like, hey, we need to have a conversation, because this is what I think the Bible says, but tell me what it actually says, and then point it out so I can read it. But I do believe that angels exist. I do believe that spirit guides exist. I think we all have one, at least one. But at the end of the day, some people feel them and some people don't. And a lot of the people that say, oh, I've never felt him, I don't believe in that, at some point in time in their life, they have felt a nudge, whether they think it's a spirit guide or intuition or just something nudging them. And I wholeheartedly believe that that's a guide for them one way or another. Like, I definitely believe in it. And some people think, a lot of psychics and mediums believe that their spirit guides, whether it's 1 or 50 of them, I'm trying to think the best way to explain it. They have all this endless knowledge on the tip of their fingers with their guides. They have somebody who can help guide them through dangerous situations. They have somebody who can help them kind of with their finances. You're going on a trip, you have a guide to help you kind of navigate that. Or like with an Archangel Michael, he's all about navigation and travel and protection. It all depends on how much you want to dive into it. But me personally, I believe in them 1,000%. I may have a lot of guides. I only know of one, but we have a very close relationship. I could not imagine if I woke up one day and he wasn't there, I would be like, wait, hold on, I don't know how to function. I mean, I'm sure I could, but my brain would not know how to work.
Right. So with angels and spirits, we go, because I believe fully that I have some kind of guardian angels or something. The few things that I went through, in my personal experience, especially when I was just a little boy, I'm like, well, I should be dead, really.
Oh, absolutely. We're all like, yeah, I couldn't have got through this by myself. That's not an option.
Right. So, how do I want to say this? With spirits and angels, and let's see, what else is there? Spirits, angels. And I just drew a blank that quick.
Normally, if people talk about angels, they ask about demons. That's normally the next thing they ask about if they ever ask about angels.
Well, tell us, what do you think of them?
I do believe in demonic power. I do believe that there are demons, but I do not believe that they are they are not as widespread as like the clickbait happy people on like, certain paranormal investigation shows and stuff like to make it out to be, because that's what's going to get you ratings.
And I love their clickbait too. They got the guy with their mouth hanging open like they just seen something scary.
Absolutely. And I'm going to click it too. I'm going to watch it and be like, what is that? I got to know. But I do believe in it. I absolutely wholeheartedly believe that there is demonic energy out there for sure. Just as much as I believe that there are angels out there. Like, no doubt about it.
Well, yeah, because people are like, well, I was scratched, but does that make it a demonic thing? No,
absolutely not.
It could be the spirits trying to get your attention. It could be numerous things, It
could be. And I mean, just because a spirit is mad or angry or has an attitude does not make them demonic. It does not make them a demon. I promise it does not.
Right.
But yeah, it's just not. I think people are so hardwired to think black or white, like good or evil. And I'm like, it's not. That's not how that works.
Well, sure.
That's not how that works.
Evil and demonic, that sells.
So yeah, absolutely. That's what sells.
Yes, that's where it's going to happen. It's going to happen there. Now, tell me, what is a soul engineer?
So this is going to sound so weird. I guess you're probably a pro at weird. Like I'm pro at weird. It's fine. But years ago, I kept trying. I was doing workshops and classes, and we were traveling to do retreats and all sorts of things. And I was trying to think of a word for what I did. Yes, I'm a medium, and yes, we work with death, but I literally sat there for weeks and weeks, like, what do I call this? And it literally just dropped in my lap. And like, I don't know about you, you can call it praying, meditating, whatever you want. But when you just sit down and you just like open up and like, okay, universe, you gotta give me something. Like, what am I supposed to receive? And it literally fell out of like whatever right into my lap. And to me, soul engineering is I cannot help somebody to heal. I cannot heal you. That's not what I can do. I hate when people walk around trying to act like they're healers or something. No, that's not no. But what I can do is I can hold space for you and walk beside you as you build your footers and you add the support beams and you build your bridge and you engineer your path through your grief, your pain, your trauma, your experiences. And I can stand beside you and walk with you as you engineer your own bridge to healing and understanding and growth. And that's where soul engineering came from. And it's been a few years and people don't even use it hardly anymore. It's still on my website because I couldn't let go. I think it was such a moment, I think, for me with my work. I felt like it was such a powerful message that I kind of can't let it go. But I always tell people the reason I do my work is so hopefully by the end of our time together, you have found the path to start working through their grief. They have found the path to start working through their trauma or their pain. I can't heal you. Nobody else is going to be able to either, but I can hold space for you while you figure it out. And you can begin to take that first step.
So
So that's where soul engineering came from.
what would be the difference between soul engineering and a soul blueprint?
Oh, that's so fascinating. Let me tell you, I am not an be all, know all anything. I really didn't get into soul blueprints until like 2 years ago. Didn't even know that was a thing until I was at a workshop and they were talking about soul blueprint like courses. And I'm like, what is that? Um, I think a soul engineering is way more personal. I mean, I understand a soul blueprint is unique as that soul, but I think this is allowing someone else to be in that space with you and listening to you. And whether you're asking for somebody to hold your hand while you walk through it or just be present in that moment. And I think that's the difference. We used to offer mentoring sessions. I would allow I would take in 3 students a year, which I don't right now. But that was their main focus is what is your goal? Why do you want to do this work? No matter what it may be. And our whole goal was to take that year and help you engineer your entire bridge from here to the other side and finding whatever it is you need to build that bridge.
Okay. All right. So what now would that be in the realm of spiritual community building?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, we've done it for years. This is the second year I've stepped back from taking in a mentorship where I've taken people in. But we do have a small private group that's what we do. Every week they get prompts and questions, whether they're journals or meditations or whatever it is. And every single person is going to be unique. Every single person's need and want, whether they want to learn how to read tarot, then okay, we're going to spend this whole 6 months working with you to hand create a tarot deck that's specifically for you and what each card means to you and why do you feel that way about that card and getting really intimate and have a relationship with each thing. Bone reading, scrying, whatever it is. And that's what we do. We take that time period and we really work on helping you learn how to be an engineer to your own soul's work.
Okay. All right. So now, as I keep going here, because I take a lot of notes and I try to build off of what you're saying too. What do you do shadow work?
I'm a deep believer in shadow work, and I'm super irritated with the world right now because it seems to be the very new bubbly, trendy thing. Is they're like, oh, take a shadow work course, and in 2 weekends you're gonna no, but it's very trendy and a very buzzy word right
So
now.
what exactly is it?
Shadow work to me, it is a never-ending process. You have to constantly unlearn, relearn, and get really, really comfortable being uncomfortable with yourself. We have to be really willing to face the things that trigger us, get into the darkest, deepest depths of ourselves. And then guess what? As soon as we think we got it figured out, you got to start all over again because now you realized, oh, that's really happening because of this root. And then once you get to the bottom of that root, you realize, oh, well, that's causing me to react to this. I do believe that shadow work is a never ending process. Absolutely. Inside out.
So where does that fit in? That's our self work, right?
That is our self work for sure.
And that would fit in with, let's say, like vibrations and frequencies, intuitiveness.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with that. I think right now it's one of those things that seem to be super trendy and all over all the social media platforms. And somebody worded it as like toxic positivity not too long ago, and I was like, that is the best phrase I've ever heard in my life. When these people that go in like all love and light, and they talk about, oh, I'm doing shadow work because something made me uncomfortable, and then they like write a letter to themselves and, oh, like, I've done my shadow work, I'm done now. And that is super triggering to me, and it shouldn't be, but it is. And I'm like, that's not okay, that's not where we're at, but that's okay. You know what, you do you. 1 + 1 = 5. That's fantastic. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I do believe shadow work is very deep rooted. And the minute it gets uncomfortable, people tend to back away and pretend that they're finished, and they put a little bow on it and they put it aside and check it off their board or their list for that year. And they think it's done. But no, shadow work is some deep rooted stuff.
Well, could like shadow work, from what you're explaining, is, I mean, couldn't it just be like a thought form too? I mean,
it could be,
because you're building yourself up. You're thinking positively. So if you think that, hey, I can do this. This is me. I'm, who I am. That's what's confusing
and
me.
That's completely okay. It is completely okay. This is just my take on it.
Sure.
I think that's all it is. I could be absolutely 1,000% wrong. It's just my interpretation of it, just my perspective of it. But no, I definitely think it will come in waves, just like everything else we learn, right? As soon as we think we've mastered something, or we'll get sidetracked with something else we're interested in, and then suddenly we realize we're back where we were 6 months ago or a year ago or 5 years ago. And, oh, that's right, I was digging into this, or this has brought light to this part of me or this experience. I don't think it's a constant 24/7 thing. That would be insane. That our minds couldn't process that. At least in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
I would also think that would go into like mind, body, spiritual connections.
Absolutely, 1,000%, 1,000%.
What was you going to say? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't. No, I'm agreeing with you. Absolutely. We are not just one little piece. We're mind, body, soul. We have so many pieces that need moving and learning and healing and growing, and it's a constant experience we must go through all the time. I have a piece of artwork. I'll have to find the name of the artist, but I have a piece of artwork in my house, and it has this woman that's walking through the woods, and every few feet there's pretty much a copy of her that is laying dead on the ground, but there's several of them behind her walking. And when I seen it, I was like, I have to have that. That to me is the epitome of shadow work, because you have to constantly like let that part of you die and move on, whether it's the ego part or the depression, the sadness, the experience, no matter how many times we go through them, because that's part of life. And I think it's very interesting how we have to let go of parts of ourselves. And in turn, it's taking a step forward on our path.
Sure.
And I think it's super powerful the first time I seen it.
So so you're very knowledgeable in all this, so thank you.
I don't know if I am. They're all just my opinions. Some people may think they're all just out a window, but that's okay.
But because you do mediumship and psychic readings, and you do, I even see you do combination readings. Mm-hmm. So you're well, you know about these different things. So even if you don't know the full definition, you know your definition.
Right.
So, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, do you do tarot readings?
I have done tarot readings since I was a teenager. I've really enjoyed tarot readings.
So what is the main function of tarot reading? What is it that somebody comes to you and they say, can you give me a reading of, let's say, can you do it for anything? Like, can you do can I get a new job?
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of an ongoing thing now. My partner and my child send me tarot decks from everywhere they go in the world, because they're both in the military. They kind of go everywhere. So I have an abundance of tarot decks. My clients have given me really cool ones. I consider it it's another form of scrying, right? It's just like water scrying or
Right.
any other form of scrying. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful art form. I do not automatically do tarot readings for people when they ask for readings, but if they want a tarot reading, I'm like, let's go. I got you. Let's do it. It'll be fun. Some people need that experience. Some people want that experience. They don't want somebody to sit down beside them and just tell them what they're seeing. They want the whole thing. And I'm here for it. Absolutely. I always tell my clients, I want to meet you where you're at. What is it that you are coming to me for? I'm not here to pat myself on the back. I'm here to be of service to every single person that wants to share space with me. That's my whole job. If they want a bone reading, let's do it. We're going to do a bone reading. If they want tarot, we're going to do a tarot reading. I do think people are so afraid to trust their own intuition that they lean on those little guides that the tarot books, that tarot decks come with.
Sure.
And I always encourage people, take a glance at them, see what it says. But the more you flip over a card, the more you're going to resonate it with a specific feeling or a specific experience you've had, or like, oh, when I see this tends to kind of happen around it. So that's what you're going to associate it with. I always encourage people to do that.
Do you think that we've always kind of shunned out our intuitions, or is this something that happened maybe when internet came along? Now we can look up everything.
Oh gosh, the internet is a curse and a blessing, isn't it?
It is, yes.
It really is. I do believe that we are all born within like a very strong intuition. That's why a lot of people say, if a kid doesn't like somebody, then you should trust that kid.
Absolutely.
We are all born with this really strong intuition. A lot of people grow out of it because their families are like, oh, you don't see that. Oh, that's not what's really happening. Oh, you're imagining it. And when you hear that for the first 3, 5, 7 years of your life, by the time you're 9 or 10, you'll start noticing people turning it off. And that's where we have the disconnect, I believe, a lot of the time. That's also when we were talking about past lives and reincarnation. That's when children normally stop talking about their past lives because it starts to fade out and they become more present in what's going on now. That's just my personal opinion. But I do think that technology has absolutely done something to people trusting their intuition. And I have noticed a wave the past few years where people are starting to reach out and dig a little bit, and they're feeling more comfortable about it because the blessing that came along with internet is that there are people who will say something like, well, hey, have you ever felt this way? And it's giving other people permission around them to discuss their truths and to discuss their experiences. So curse and a blessing all wrapped into one, for sure.
Right. And that brings me up to like this part. The other downside with the internet is it comes down to a lot of, well, if this person says that that's what they experience, I experienced that too. And then you're going down these long, deep rabbit holes because it's nothing. It's like the paranormal, this is demonic, right. This is evil, this is, and if these people keep blindly believing it really picks up wind and it carries for a long time.
Absolutely. 1,000% I agree with you. It's like I don't know if you agree with this, but let's just use the Conjuring house for example. There we go. Couldn't get my words out. When the whole experiences that happened inside the Conjuring, the home that the Conjuring discusses, when they first came out, certain people would be like, oh, this happened, and this happened. And then 2 days later, suddenly it had blown up into, well, so-and-so said they seen this, and this. And then a week later, it's blown up even more. And I'm fascinated by reading newspaper articles and interviews they had with police officers there. And then you look down the road 6 months later and how they've just shifted a little and they're a little bit bigger. Now, am I saying that the home that the Conjuring is based off of is completely fake? Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it's just one of those little examples that people start with a little something, and because somebody else has said it, now it's blowing up. Now that rabbit hole has kind of been unearthed, and we dive into it.
Right.
And
I'm
fascinated by it.
That's the complete part of research.
Right.
research, and more research. Because Andrea Perrin,
Absolutely.
you can go look her up. I believe I'm Facebook friends with her.
Mm-hmm.
Her story is fantastic, and she's wrote some books about it. And I don't believe that. Of course, the Hollywood's going to hype this all up.
Right.
So I believe that they definitely experienced something in that home.
Oh, absolutely.
But as far as we need
Hollywood does what Hollywood does.
we need ratings and likes and things like that. But it is a very interesting story. I mean, you could go over the Conjuring house, you could go over like the Hinsdale house, all those different really kind, and I hate to use the word evil, but these dark places.
You can feel it.
Yeah, and it's very fascinating.
And see, that's the only kind of scary movies I will watch. If it says based on a true story, I'm like, let's go. We got to watch it inside and out, and then I have to research about it for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to be reading everything I can find about it.
Well, based on a true story is this mostly. That's extremely loosely based.
Loosely, right. It's like the Winchester House or the Conjuring, or of course, I'm like, I'm in. Let's go. Like, I have to find out about all the things.
Right.
But that's why I was so excited whenever wherever we seen your podcast, my assistant sent it to me and she was like, you've got to check it out. Because I'm a sucker for a real paranormal investigator, because there's so many fakes out there that just want to be like, oh, look what I caught on camera. And I'm like, did you eat that day? Because that's literally, I'm serious. Your stomach growling sounds like a demon on playback. Like, that's what it sounds like.
Exactly.
And it's like, let's just break it down, guys. Like, really, let's really break it down. Yeah. So I'm always fascinated.
And you can't tell people nothing either anymore. It's they're like, what do you think it is? And as soon as you tell them, well, this is what it is, and
that's not what they want to hear.
Yeah, if you say, look, your camera is overexposed because you're moving it, people get so mad and hurt. They're like, that's not what it is, because they believe so badly that is a spirit you're not going to change their mind.
And you're not going to. And you know what? That's okay. That takes me back to that 1 + 1 = 5. That's awesome. I'm so glad for you. Because there are some things that I'm just like, you know what? That's okay. Like, you do you. I know I mentioned them before, but I've got to investigate with a lot of, groups and even individuals over the years. And one of my favorite, hands down, is New Jersey Paranormal, because they will go in and look at every single detail for days leading up to it, or like before they unveil all what they found.
Absolutely.
They will go through for days and days and days through every filter and every possible way. And I'd much rather do that and get nothing than have a plethora of evidence that is completely bogus.
Yes.
And I think that's very cool. Yeah, we did Liberty Hall in New Jersey, and it was so much fun. It was great. It was really great.
Yeah, and it kind of like the downside with people that just blindly believe, and they're like, no, that's not what it is that other people follow that. And now you're branching off to everything. And it's like, wait a minute, if you're going to be in the paranormal field, you should know what it is that you're doing. So it's tough.
It is. And you know what? That's okay though. That's okay. I'd rather deal with the people who aren't all over television and actually have ethics behind what they do.
Yes.
So I'd much rather spend time with those than somebody's got a camera in their face and like, oh, look at all this. Like, no, I'm good. Thanks.
Yes. And
not for me.
That is absolutely true. Like when I'd assume when you go on paranormal investigations, you're there to pick up on spirits and things like that, correct?
Sometimes I just go because I thoroughly enjoy it, and they have no idea that I'm a medium when I walk into like whatever ticketed, place that I'm like, hey, look, this group's hosting here. That's like not too far. Let me go. And I won't even mention what I do, but I do have a scratch pad that I take with me everywhere. That I use to scratch notes and images and symbols that I get. I do it all the time. You'll see it all over my socials. And so they'll normally catch a glimpse of that and be like, what are you doing? And but I try not to like draw too much attention, because it's not about like what I'm doing. I want to experience it like everybody else. I'm just there for the experience. I have been asked several times to go in as a medium as part of the team, But when we do that, I always ask her to go in completely blind. I don't know. I don't want to know where we're going. I don't want to know anything about it.
Right.
Just take me and it's fine. Let's just go. But I thoroughly enjoy doing that because, again, I repel technology. So if you try to give me something to work with, I'm going to break it. The battery's going to die. Something's going to happen. So I just follow people and take notes. That's what I do pretty much.
Now, you can't do and I'm just guessing, can you do where you pick up an object and you can kind of get a glimpse of?
That's not really my forte. Some people are really good at that. I am not. You can bring it, and sometimes I will kind of get like a masculine, like I'll be like, oh, that had to belong to her dad or her grandfather.
Okay.
Oh,
all right.
that had to, but I do not get the whole story behind it. I really don't. I just don't.
Yeah, and I'm like highly empathic. I can feel everything. I can, you know what I mean? I can walk into a room and be like, oh man, I'm getting a headache. I'm going to have to get out of this room.
Yep.
But I can't flip it off neither. That's another thing. But that really helps. Like you going into a place that someone wants to investigate, whether it's well, you wouldn't want it to be like Waverly or something, but you go into a place that you've never been to before, you don't know anything about it, and then you compare what you get with what they get.
I love that so much.
I think
originally why I went to New Jersey to investigate with that team, was to be like, I'm just going to write stuff down. And then as people were coming up, I'd flip my notebook around and show them, and she'd be like, holy crap, that's weird. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's really weird.
Yeah,
freaks me out too.
I think that is good because that reminds me of what's that show? Man, I can't think of what her name is. She's I think a psychic medium, and she goes in, and there's a cop that goes in. They go in separately.
Oh, Dead Files.
Yes.
I'm super excited. I'm doing a big expo with like Chip Coffee and the guys from Ghost Hunters and all kinds of stuff. But that guy, Steve, I've only watched a few episodes of it, so I have to go and binge it before November. But he's going to be at the expo we're at in November, and I'm super excited because the few episodes I watched, I was like, that's so cool. That's exactly what it's like. That's exactly what it's like. And
yes, and they have this setup where he goes in, he gets all the information of the house and who lived there and all this, and her assistant covers up all the pictures and stuff.
All the pictures. I love that.
Yeah. And then
that's like, to me, that's peak experience. I love that. That's the best.
And then she does her thing, and then they sit down and they compare notes. It's to me, it's fascinating.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. That's actually why the only reason I even have an assistant is to take care of my appointments, because I don't want to know anything when I sit down with a client. I want to know absolutely nothing. I want to go in completely blind, because too often people will call or email and be like, oh, my dad died 2 months ago. He died of this. I want to connect with him. I don't even want to do that anymore, because anything I tell you, you've already told me. And I'm out. I don't feel like I'm helping that person. So going in blind like that is the best. Like I have like a little kid at Christmas. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, let's do that. That's so much fun.
So like, well, what do you do? Like if you're, you go with your family, you go to lakes and swim, and what do you do when you get there and like a spirit is trying to tell you, hey, look, I had drowned here, or, do you ever get that?
All the time. Absolutely everywhere I go.
How do you shut it off?
Everywhere I go. I have learned, this may sound odd, but my guide's really, he's really good at kind of setting my boundary for me. And I can feel it and I can see them, but they don't get pushy with me. Very, very rarely. Very rarely over the years, because I don't believe in walking up to a stranger at a grocery store and being like, hey, did your mom die? She's trying to get a message to you. I do not do that. Yes, I may see her mother that died that's following her around Walmart, but I don't believe I should have the right to walk up to somebody not knowing their mental state, how they feel about it. They may not be in a place to receive those messages. I don't think I have any right to walk up and invade that space.
Yeah, that's true. That would be trippy. Someone walking up to me going, hey, your dad's right behind you.
My daughter, when she was younger, she was like, Mom, I know you, like, because I'd be like, just so you know, this is what I'm seeing over here. I'd tell my partner, my kids, just so that way they can see. I don't know. I just kind of have, I guess, this look, or I kind of, they can just kind of tell, because I'll stop talking to them about whatever we're talking about. And my daughter would be like, what are you seeing? And so I'd tell her, and she's like, you should go tell her. I'm like, no, we're not doing that today. Like, it's not on the shopping list today, kid. But yeah, I absolutely have that. There have been a few times in my life where I've had, like you've said, I have to just leave the space because it's just too much. It's just too much. But normally I can acknowledge them. They are aware I'm not there to hurt them, that I am there. I see them, I acknowledge them, I will hear them, and I do my best to let them know it's okay. They're okay. It's all right. But I don't like to walk up to strangers and give them messages because I think that's weird. I just don't think it's my place.
Yeah, that like I said, that would be trippy. Someone coming up to me going, "Hey, you know what? You got this person following you. Well, why?"
Right. I have a few times, but it's very rare, and it's only because their person is so like adamant, and they're like, "I'm literally going to get in your car and follow you home."
Yeah, persistent.
Yeah. If it's that persistent, it's for a reason. But
So you also do like what was I just gonna say? You do my brain just went completely south here.
That's okay.
It did. And it wasn't combined readings. Let me think here again.
We do psychic readings, mediumship readings, like combo readings, which are both. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You do the psychic reading thing brought it back. You do like private events and things, correct?
Oh yeah, we do. They're so much fun. We get invited to do seminars. We get we get invites to do expos. I think we're going to do the one in Savannah the second week in September. We're doing the big one up at Woodbridge, New Jersey, which is a huge, huge expo. It's so much fun. But we also do private events where, let's say, and I'm like, these have to be my people, but we will do like bachelorette or like bridal showers.
Oh, okay.
And somebody will come in and they're like, this is what we want. And I'm like, you are my kind of people. I would definitely be friends with you because you're not going out drinking. You're hanging out wanting to talk to dead people.
Oh, there you go.
It's good. Like, we've done birthdays. We've done big, what are they called? Team building exercises with businesses. We've done those. I'm really open. I want to meet my clients where they're at. If that's what they want to do, who am I to say that's weird or not acceptable? Like, cool, let's do it. It's very normal where groups of people will have a small get together in their home and they'll have me come out there and there'll be like 20, 25 people and we'll just hang out for like 2 hours and see what we get. And that's just what we do.
Nice.
It's so much fun.
Yeah. And, it sounds like, people are going to, especially when you get a group of people like that, it's so like their minds just start going and they have like a zillion questions. Usually I have a zillion questions after the person leaves and I'm like, I should have asked all those questions.
That's it. And I always tell people, listen, think of questions now. And I always tell people to have something to write with while I'm there because reading amnesia is absolutely real. You will forget your middle name. You will forget your birthday. You will forget your mom's first name. It happens every single day. And then when they leave, and then like once I leave my session, I'll get an email like an hour later, like, oh my God, you're right. That was that's my sister and that's her birthday. It's very normal. Totally normal. And when you get groups of people together, it just amplifies it more where this person's mother comes through and then suddenly this person's ex-boyfriend comes through that died 5 years ago. And that leads to this person's dog that wants to come through and it's all over the place. And I love that. That's so much fun to me because we get a whole bunch going at one time. It's a lot of fun.
So you just had mentioned about someone's dog coming through. You can actually pick up on a spirit animal?
Animals come through all the time.
Wow.
Souls are souls. And
just like scrying, I said I get animals sometimes, yes.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Birds tend to come through a lot. They're super talkative, which I think is funny. And I'm convinced it's because they want to talk in life and they have a lot to say. Dogs, when they show up or cats show up, it's normally like where they enjoy being the most, or they'll normally mention like a particular blanket, a particular collar, a particular toy. It's always fascinating to me how animals show up. They're just so genuine and such pure energy. It's very cool.
Nice. So if somebody that's listening here and they say, hey, man, how can we reach this girl? How can people get a hold of you?
It's really simple. It's just DominiqueO'Gorman.com. I'm on all the social media things because apparently that's the thing to do now. We
That's
are
right.
on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and all the things. I am a firm believer, again, in being of service to people. So normally we do lives. We'll alternate it between TikTok and Instagram. And we'll do lives once a week for like an hour where people can just pop on and we'll do quick little readings for them. Because not everybody can afford to sit down and do an hour or 2 hour session with me. And that's okay. I have nothing. I don't want anybody's financial situation to stop them from receiving a message.
Sure.
That's not what I'm about. So we do normally pop on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We rotate between Instagram and TikTok, and we do live readings just to, if a message pops through for somebody, we got it. And it's completely free. It's just something we can do. We also do a monthly giveaway where if you are on our waiting list to get on a session, or if you have already booked a session, we will randomly pick somebody. We also have almost like a scholarship sponsorship program where if you cannot afford a session, we have a list of people who are on that. We will randomly pick one person a month, and I'll give them like a 30-minute reading for free. Because again, like I couldn't do this without the people that come to me to share the space and that trust me to share the space with them. So I always want to give back to those people all the time.
Well, where are you located at?
We are in Eastern North Carolina. It's a little hole-in-the-wall town. It's outside of one of the largest bases in the world, right here on the east coast of North Carolina. We're like 15 minutes from the beach.
Oh, okay.
It's not far. It's not bad. I like it. But we do travel for clients. We travel all over the place. You do not have to sit down to do a session. We have clients all over the world, so we do Zoom or phone calls. We make sure that we're, no matter where you're at, we've got you. It's fine.
Sure.
We'll make it work.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not going to take up any more of your time, but I'll tell you, I had an awesome time talking to you. And like I said, but when we get done, I'm going to be like, man, I should have asked about this or that. Or
No, you're totally fine. Totally fine.
So,
then
but
just give me a shout and we'll do it again. It'll be fun.
Well, here, let me ask you this question because, I get this every now and again. People ask me about deja vu, and I'm like, is that like an ancestral type thing? Give us your take on what deja vu is.
Ooh, I'm fascinated with deja vu. I think there's so many different concepts to deja vu, and I definitely think if you experience it, you need to pause for a minute and see what's going on, because you're getting a do-over, or you're getting like a nudge, that like whole universal nudge, like pay attention.
Could it be like astral projection? Could it be like your great grandparents or something, and you actually just caught a glimpse of what they had?
Or it could possibly be your soul like jerking back in for a minute because that reality's crossed. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I get people, they're like, well, what do you think deja vu? And I'm like, I'm just guessing, but.
I'm just guessing. Just take a pause and pay attention to what it is. And it may seem absolutely commonplace, but pay attention to it because it's happened for a reason. I do not believe in accidents at all.
Right.
So pay attention to it. So it's there for a reason. You just got to figure out why.
All right. Awesome. Well, Dominique, thank you so much for being a part of our show. I had a blast. It was great talking to you. And I hope you have a wonderful evening.
You too. It was so much fun talking to you. Anytime.
All right. Thanks, Dominique, very much. You have a good one now.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye now. Hey, thanks for tuning in with us tonight, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow to receive notifications when new content from Paranomaly Podcast is made available. If you believe you have something paranormal happening in your home or business, or you believe you may have witnessed a UFO or UAP, please send us your story, your photos, videos, questions, suggestions, and your comments to paranomalypodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit us at www.paranomalypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. Hey, thanks again for watching and listening, and I hope that you tune in for next week's episode of Paranomaly. Hey, a word of caution. Paranomaly Podcast and its affiliates or hosts do not verify or check the validity of any person, team, or its members. Paranomaly Podcast highly advises that you proceed with caution when contacting any person or team before allowing them and having them into your home or business. A legit paranormal research and investigation team will never charge you a fee to investigate your home or business. They do, however, accept donations to help further the research and investigations if you so choose to do so. All right, thanks everybody.